Hi, it's Don Thornton, and now we're on our next chapter in my YouTube channel, Don, the Short Sale Guy Reminisces. And I've been covering my time in Finland when I was in LDS or a Mormon missionary. I served from 1985 until 1987, and I have already, gone over my first two cities. If you remember, I was in Mikkeli right here. That was my first city. You can see the cursor. And then I was transferred down to Helsinki, down here, and that's where I spent 3 months. And then I was really hoping by this time I had been in the country for 6 months, and I really my Finnish was getting better. I was really fanatical about learning vocabulary and trying to get as good as I can with Finnish. But it's a tough language. It's one of the hardest languages in the world to learn. So I still wasn't quite there yet. Although I think I probably could have been a senior companion by this time. But the mission president decided I needed to have one more month of to be a junior companion, which, look, junior companions didn't really have many rights. The senior companion was the one that made all the decisions for the most part. I mean, you would like for it to be democracy, but actually it was kind of like a dictatorship in a lot of ways. So whatever, we were just young, it doesn't matter. But anyway, so in my first companionship in Helsinki, I had said in my previous video that that companion was getting ready to go home, and so I was transferred to Pori, which is over here on the left side of, on the west coast here, the Gulf of Bothnia. This is Sweden, so I was over here in Pori. This is just a quick postcard I took back in the day. This it's a smaller town. It's about, I don't know, 30 miles from the Gulf of Bothnia. So I got transferred here, and it's funny because um, I got another guy who was late. I mean, late in the sense he only had a month left to go on his mission. He only wanted to stay. He asked for permission to stay an extra month because he knew he made good friends with this guy, and I'll go back to the map here, up in Vasa. He was going to get married, and so the president gave him permission to stay one more month. So all he cared about was going to Vasa at the wedding before he went home, and he didn't care. As far as he was concerned, his mission was over with, so he didn't want to work. So all of a sudden, I went from, where I was working, tracting, knocking on doors 8, 9 hours a day, to where this guy didn't want to do anything. So all he did was, for a month, was he wrote science fiction stories. That's what he did. Science fiction stories all day. 30 days of science fiction stories. That was fun. Uh, the only other anything of note that happened during that period of time, well, there was a couple of things that were pretty big. Number one is, and I will go over here and show you this. Reagan in 1986 decided that he wanted to bomb Libya. Now, I know what happened. Okay, the Libyans did do a terrorist attack in Berlin, and they had taken down the Pan Am airliner over Scotland, Lockerbie. So look, we were really, Libya deserved what they got. I'm not talking politics here, or foreign policy. I'm just saying that I was in Finland when this happened, and it was so funny because, I mean, the Finnish reaction was really, really negative towards the United States, and we kept hearing, because, I mean, look, we're out there in our white shirts and ties with our name tags, we're Americans, right? Our more missionaries are going to be 90% American, at least especially back then. So, people would come up to us and yell at us and spit on us, and they would say Sotahulu, Sotahulu, which is like war crazy. Reagan on Sotahulu, Reagan is war crazy. And what was really interesting was, the members, the local Mormon members, were also getting on our ass about this, as if, look, what do you think, we pushed the button to have the airstrikes against Gaddafi? I mean, we didn't do anything, we're just here. So, but it was really interesting how they really were, like, a lot of negative reaction to the members. And I remember once this we were invited over for a lunch by one of the members, and this it was an old codger. He had fought in the war against the Soviets, the Winter War and everything. And he's like, going off on us. And then my companion, Elder Call is his name, Billy Call, he just went off on this guy and just said, you sit here and kiss Russia's ass and all this stuff. And it's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Even if you think that stuff, you're not supposed to sit there and burn bridges with members. You're trying to help serve on your Christian mission. But it was pretty funny. But he just had enough, I guess, his breaking point about that. So and it was funny too because as he was doing this, the as he was haranguing this member in the backyard where the guy's grilling sausages for us for lunch. The guy the uh, the member's dog was taking a dump in the backyard. And for some reason, I never saw this before or after, but for some reason, this Finnish guy, he's an old guy. He must have been in his 60s or 70s, and I should be careful about calling someone old. I mean, I'm 56 myself. I'll be an old codger here pretty soon. But anyway, he's following the dog around with a roll of toilet paper to wipe the dog's butt. I'm thinking to myself, wow, you really gotta love your pet if you're gonna follow them with toilet paper to wipe their butt, But whatever, I don't judge. I just make ironic comments about it, 30 years later. But it was, yeah, like I said, we would drive down we would drive down the streets and especially the punkers. The punkers would they just spit at us and they would threaten to knock us over and everything. It was quite the anti-American time in Finland back in the day. And of course, the other big thing that happened during this time was da 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 Chernobyl. That happened a little bit later, of course, but not a couple weeks later. But then that was bizarre because all of a sudden we got a call from the mission office saying, "Do not go outside if it's raining." And then, of course, then we heard on the news that remember you got to remember with missionaries, especially back then, we don't have smartphones. I don't think you're allowed to have. I think you're allowed to have a smartphone now, but you whatever. I don't know what it is. It's been 30 years ago. We didn't have a phone. We had a phone in our apartment, but we didn't have TVs. We're not allowed. No radios were allowed. We were cut off only for what we saw. And we weren't even allowed to get to read Finnish newspapers or anything like that. So we were clueless, and all of a sudden we get a call saying, "Don't go outside if it's raining." And then, of course, we realized, oh crap! There's this huge explosion in Chernobyl, and the cloud. It went from Ukraine, it went to southern Europe, and it went back over. It went over Scandinavia. So it was raining because I mean, in Finland in the spring it rains, and so we had to stay inside a lot because they were saying that you could get the radioactive fallout would stick on you if you were there in the rain. So it was crazy. We were all scared, what's going to happen? Are we all going to get cancer? And so on and so forth. So it was quite the trip. But and then also, which was at the same time, so we had the Libya attack, then we had Chernobyl, and then while this was all happening, there was a postal strike in Finland. This was back in 2000, I'm sorry, 1986, and for almost 2 months there was no mail. So you can imagine how my parents were freaking out because you had the airstrikes, Chernobyl, oh my gosh, fallout, all this stuff. What's wrong with my kid? And all of a sudden there was no letters coming either. No letters were coming, and of course they didn't know they didn't know what our phone number was. They didn't know way of contacting us. So it was a crazy crazy time. So that was all happening the first month and a half. So the good news was that that my lazy companion went to his wedding and he went home, and then the mission president finally named me to be senior companion, and he gave me a greenie meaning a newbie, a new missionary, and so I was able to start kind of doing things the way I wanted to do them, and but unfortunately something got in the way of that, and I will tell you about that in my next video about what happened the next adventure I had in Pori after all of this stuff happening. So stay tuned for the next video.